Greetings. We're here to talk about Azure Windows Virtual Desktops. And I found a couple articles which I'll put into the post that discuss how to create your own VM, presumably from an ISO, and then prepare it to then upload into Azure and use that as your virtual desktop. Now, I came across this article by Travis Roberts, and interestingly enough, he says that Windows 10 multi-user is required to run a desktop pool. So as I investigated how to get Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session, I found out it's not available via my EA, my Enterprise Agreement portal. Essentially, you're forbidden to run it on-prem unless you're preparing it to then upload it back into Azure. With the Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session, you can customize the line of business applications and then generalize it with sysprep. And furthermore, to get started, you create the VM in Azure, then you download the VHD directly. That enables you to create a Generation 1 VM on your Windows 10 box with Hyper-V, modify it, customize the image, then you can re-upload it. So I think that's a little kludgy, but I can see some value in downloading that VHD if Microsoft has already baked all of this into their image. Then we wouldn't have to worry about doing that. Otherwise, it's kind of a pain to do this, not so much from the execution portion of it, but it's a 127 gigabyte file and it takes hours to download. So I already have a VM that I created for this purpose. So I'm just going to show you the first steps of how to get that. So if we type Windows 10, and if we look for this Microsoft Windows 10 in the search icon, you'll see that in this drop down we have Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session, and there's different versions. I created the latest version. You're probably pretty familiar with how to do this. Essentially, I created a resource group to put it in. So here's the VM. You want to shut it down, allow it to be deallocated, then go to disks, drill down into the disk, and you'll see disk export. You can generate a URL, which mine have been timing out, so I'm going to slam another 0 into it. And I hope that the next time it times out, I can essentially hit resume and then it'll continue on. The downside to this link being available is, it's probably a good idea to go cancel the export later. So here we go. It's starting to download the ABCD virtual hard disk, and it's coming in at about 3 hours left. It's probably a good idea to go cancel the export later. So here we go. It's starting to download the ABCD virtual hard disk, and it's coming in at about 3 hours left. A lot of folks probably already know how to enable Hyper-V. If you don't, we can just do a quick Google search on how to enable Hyper-V on Windows 10. And here's a good Microsoft Docs on how to do that. Looks like it can be done with PowerShell, which is kind of cool. Otherwise, you just go into the control panel, apps and features, select programs and features, go and turn this off and on. This will require a reboot. And if you have an older system, there's a BIOS setting called virtualization support or something like that. Each vendor calls it something different. Most of the newer systems have that enabled. I have a Surface Pro and it was already enabled. So go ahead and do that if you're intending on modifying your own virtual hard disk with your customized line of business applications. Stay tuned, and I will hopefully have more content for you.